Shalom sim racers and auto sports enthusiasts. Welcome to the Hauling Hebrew Racing channel. I'm Hauling Hebrew and thanks for dropping in. Today I'm doing a tutorial for navigating the car tuning menu, and we're going to begin in Race Central as normal. We're going to navigate with the paddle shifter and use your D-pad to go into my garage. Just hit your X button to enter the garage. Use your D-pad to navigate and select the car. And once you come out of the car selection, you're going to be able to create a new setup. And once your setup is done, you can display your current setup, or you can also enter into to change the setup here, or you can enter in from here. Basically the same function, except this you have a display to have a display so you can view your current setup. We're going to enter in here for now. Now we're into edit tuning setup. Now the problem that I had with Project Cars is that I was overlooking one simple thing. I was getting the L1 and R1 button mixed with the L2 and R2 button, and the L1 and R1 is simply used to navigate your different menus. As you can see, the R2 and the L2 is what I was overlooking. That's what you use to navigate the sub-menus. Relatively straightforward and simple. But if you're overlooking it, you're going to end up in a world of hurt, and that's exactly what I did. I kept using the L1 and R1 button, and I came to the conclusion that these were the only options that I had right here that I could use to tune my car. And for the first 2 weeks, because I just learned this not too long ago, maybe a few days ago, for the first couple of weeks I was tuning my car using these options here. And the main one that I was using was the tire air pressure, and I was using these to offset the oversteer, trying to compensate for oversteer or understeer using tire pressure. Brake duct, I was using that to get more aero or less aero, and traction control where it was applicable. And I did this for like 2 weeks until I was on GT Planet, and I came across one of the I was in a forum on GT Planet talking about Project Cars or Gran Turismo, and I was comparing the two, and I was saying, and I was actually complaining about the limited option that Project Cars had. And one of the GT members, Johnny Penzo, big shout out to Johnny Penzo, he corrected me, and another member corrected me. So I asked the question, how do you do it? And I waited, I don't know, maybe an hour or so, and I didn't get a response, so I decided to check YouTube, and I found a video. And simple as pie, it just said use the R2 and the L2 button, and that's what I did, and I learned to tune my car. And here you can see all the other options that you have: your front downforce, your rear downforce, your steering ratio. These are important, especially when you have a Thrustmaster T80, because you only have like 260 degrees of rotation, so you don't want to have that set too fast, because it'll be hard for you to keep a straight line. But as I said, we're not going into we're not doing a performance tuning tutorial. This is strictly doing the simple task of learning to navigate the menu. Might do a little discussion about some of the things there, as far as like your camber angle. If you don't understand tuning your cars, there's plenty of things on YouTube you can possibly access some of the things for Gran Turismo 6, it gives you, or Gran Turismo 5, there's a lot of tutorials on tuning. It'll be the same thing. It'll be applicable here just as well. The camber, it does the same in every racing game. So once you learn what these functions do, you can learn to adjust them to have the car respond to your driving style. But basically all you're really trying to do is have a stable straight line speed, which you're going to use your toe in and your toe out, and the camber angle, so you can enter the corner at high speed and exit the corner at the highest speed. That's basically what you're trying to do, avoiding either oversteering or understeering. Oversteering is when your car begins to rotate. Once you hit the apex, it begins to rotate towards the inner portion of the curve, and you have to do things to counter that. And understeering, once you hit the apex, your car begins to drift out towards the outer edge of the curve. That's understeering. So if your car is understeering, you want to use these functions to create more oversteer. And if it's doing the opposite, you want to do things that's going to create more understeer. And that's it in a nutshell as far as tuning. Not going to get into performance tuning on this particular one, and really I'm not the best tuner, so there's plenty of guys out there that do great tuning. Plenty of guys on online. And here's some of the other options: your ride height and your suspension, your rear sway bar. All these things are just adjusting steering, oversteering, and understeering. You got your limited slip differential for your transmission. Those things are gonna, and you have your radiator. That's like, wow. Project Cars has so many options that Gran Turismo, and I had the nerve to actually complain that Project Cars wasn't meeting the standard of Gran Turismo, when Project Cars actually supersede Gran Turismo 5 and 6. You have way more options. You don't even have a radiator option in Gran Turismo 6. And I see why Yamauchi pushed Gran Turismo 7's due date out to 2017. They probably saw the release of Project Cars and realized, sat around their boardroom and said, we've got a lot of work to do. And I'm sure they're grinding right now, trying to get all of these things, probably plus a little bit more, because they want to retain the title of the ultimate driving simulator. They have a lot of cars, I do give them that, but as far as the physics engine, Project Cars is really in a world of its own, and I mean that in a good way. And you even have some stuff here that you can tune your force feedback, and depending on who you ask, you get a different reactions as far as force feedback. Some people say that force feedback simulates the feel of real driving, but when you talk to professional drivers, or you look at some of their commentary on simulators, they give simulators a poor rating, because they say that you really don't feel the road through the steering wheel. You feel the road through the seat of your pants. You feel the G's of the car. You feel how the car is rotating. You don't feel that in the steering wheel. By the time you feel it in the steering wheel, you're already behind the correction. So, a lot of them give force feedback a negative rating. They say that it really doesn't apply. So I'm going to side, and with Ben Collins, the former Stig on, Top Gear. I know he's on the payroll, but you have to give the man some credibility for being a professional driver, and also contributing and making contributions, even though they hired the man for a reason, just so that they can get the feedback in order to get this game tuned where it'll be more like a real simulator. And even though I've never driven a real race car, I have driven a regular car, and I know how a car responds. I don't know how it responds at top speed with aerodynamics and everything hooked up to it, but I do know how a real car feels, and at normal speed, Project Cars feels fantastic. It feels like a real car. Gran Turismo, I know when you're competing, you're going to be on the edge of control. You're always on the slope, but Gran Turismo, you really feel like you're on the edge. I mean, the slightest little mistake and the car goes spinning off. Project Cars, it really helps to hold the line. But I'm going more into performance, and that's not really what I wanted to do for this tutorial. But basically, that's it when it comes to navigating through the menus. Pretty much straightforward. And if this video has been any help to you, I ask that you hit the like button and subscribe. And I'll see you on the grid. Shalom.